start my second journey of a travelling salesman, story of a travelling salesman. Today we are in Monmouthshire, South Wales stroke English border, and have a meeting today. Quite a high profile customer, and discussing the second phase of my proposal, and yeah, hopefully get a timeline on when we can see the opportunity come into fruition. And yeah, just going through some tunnels in Monmouthshire, just to give you some information on this area. This area is East Wales, and it's a very, very rural, picturesque area of the country in the UK, stroke Wales. It lies right on the cusp of between England and Wales, so you'll see a lot of mountainous areas and trees. It's a beautiful part of the country, quite an affluent area on as Wales goes. There's a couple of public schools, and to my right is a boat club. But I always loved travelling this way, back and forth between the Midlands and Wales. I always come this way rather than go up to the M5. I always travel through the M50. Sometimes traffic can be really messy, especially if you come on a Friday. You're coming down to Wales on a Friday, and you hit this area here around about 4:30, 4 o'clock. You're looking to be sitting in traffic for a good half an hour. So I always recommend you plan your journey a bit earlier than rush hour or after. There's a historical area here called Offa's Dyke, which is I believe it was a point where England were invading Wales back in the day. But I'm not amazing on history, so please do not fact check me, because I will not respond. But this journey from South Wales up to the Midlands may take 2.5 hours. So it's actually a good time, a good drive to prepare or go over some of your material for your presentation or your sales pitch. So from the last video I done, the first video I done I should say, I actually closed that order with the customer, not as much as I initially anticipated, because a few alterations had to be done on my quotation. But at this point, because this is a new business customer, or that was a new business customer, the first phase is literally a proof of concept for them, and they wanted to trial it, but get their first order under the belt, and then hopefully roll it out across other parts of the organisation. So I'm confident that can happen, because the product and the solution that I've recommended and they've taken will definitely reduce their overheads or their costs, and help them become more efficient. And again, when you're doing your sales proposals, or you're going through discovery on your first meeting, you always find there's changes happen down the line, along the way, for you to adjust. And also, when you get other stakeholders get involved, then they have a different idea or a different approach. So you do find that when you go in there with an initial idea of costs for the customer, they sometimes either go higher or lower than what you anticipated. So, but I think this order is a good order. Mid-range level value. But the order I'm seeing today is a lot higher value, a lot more complicated, a lot more project management involved, and it'll probably be a slow burner at the start, but I do believe that there's loads of capacity to grow here as an opportunity. So today my meeting is literally looking at just one part of the organisation. Again, a test area. The solution on this order is a lot more complicated because they will require a lot of different products that we do. So there's a lot more configuration going to have to happen, a lot more scope, and there's a lot more people involved in this project, a lot more stakeholders involved. So we want to ascertain their budget. That's always very critical to when you're venturing onto an opportunity, is establish their budget quite early on, because there's nothing worse than going into a customer meeting and finding a great solution. The customer wants everything, but their budget is a lot less than what the solution is going to be. So, and that's a lot of time wasted, a lot of energy wasted, a lot of resource wasted. So just bear that in mind. Try to establish your potential customer's budget before any in-depth conversation. I learned that the hard way several years ago, where I spent a lot of time and effort on an opportunity which, at the end of it, was very mediocre. Good opportunity, but it was a very small value opportunity. So we're coming up to an area called Ross-on-Wye, which is again a very nice, I guess it's a town, I guess. It's got a lovely river running through the middle of it. Very scenic. It's a very nice day out with your partner, or if you're visiting the area, to go and see. But again, like I mentioned, this part of the country is a very nice area. Although I would like to live on this road here. There's a few houses, as you can see on the side, who live here, and I can imagine it's very noisy because it's a heavy traffic route, especially with freight, logistics, lorries. Yeah, obviously this road was built after these houses. Nevertheless, it's a real nice area to live on the whole. Farming up this area, this neck of the woods, as you can imagine, because it's very rural. So farming is probably the main source of industry around here. What I like about this route is all the times I've travelled on this route, there's very rarely congestion or breakdowns or any of that sort. It's a quite a quick and a scenic route to the Midlands. Although sometimes you may be behind a tractor for a short period of time, because like I said, this is farming country area. I'm going to try not to talk as much as I did in the first video, because I wanted you guys just to enjoy the scenery, the routes. This is the M50 motorway or dual carriageway, which takes you from Newport, South Wales, up to the Worcester area, or the Worcester area to Newport, or either which way you want to go around. Saying that, this is an option other than the M5 across the Severn Bridge if you're going that way. Sorry guys, just to highlight the purpose of these videos. It's just a sort of blog or vlog, or whatever you want to call it, of a salesperson travelling across the whole of the UK in their job. And unfortunately sometimes it's just you just travel on motorways or freeways, or whatever you want to call them. You don't really get to go into the towns a lot, so this is not a historical or a educational video for nice towns in the UK or whatever. It's just a vlog of videos to just show what we do as salespeople, as field salespeople, or account managers, or territory managers, or whatever we do. And again, there are benefits of this role. There are pitfalls of this role. I much prefer doing this, like I mentioned in the previous video. I much prefer doing this than being in an office, just sitting behind a desk all day in a mundane environment, just looking at a laptop all day. This is a great role for you to go out, you know, think, drive, see some sights, get to meet customers, get to earn some good money if you can convert your sales. And yeah, this is not the videos you see online sometimes where they just want to show you the nice areas. This is just showing you what we see as salespeople on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. The pitfalls are, you are on your own a lot of the time. You stay in hotels, random hotels. You're in different hotels, different beds. You live in the back of your car in terms of your clothes, etc., etc. So there are, don't get me wrong, there are negatives to this role, but I would never go back to an office role, not after having this luxury of getting outdoors. Sometimes your meetings can be close, you know, a few half an hour, 20 minutes away from where you're based, you're located, or they could be hours away. I mean, I've driven to Scotland, which took me 6.5 hours to get to my customers' meeting. But again, you have to size up the opportunity to justify the travel, the costs, and the longevity of the opportunity. All these things have to be taken into consideration before you go travelling, I believe anyway. Point out as well, guys, for those who are not based in the UK or Europe, wherever, in the UK, we try this. Effectively, the slow lane is the left side lane, and the faster lane is the right side lane and the outside lane. Obviously, I know in America it's the other way around. So don't think I'm driving in the inside lane, the slow lane, but I'm going very slow. This is the slow lane. Just in case people are wondering, if I'm dragging out my driving in the fast lane, which is not. Obviously in the UK, this is the slow lane or the normal speed lane. We're in the Gloucester area now, which is it's quite a big county. It stretches up towards to Worcestershire, and then it goes as far east as Oxfordshire. So it's quite a vast area. Again, a lot of farmland, a lot of farming in Gloucestershire. I don't have too many customers in this area in Gloucestershire. So I don't get to come here that often, this area. warmer. It's currently between 7 and 9 degrees, which is still pretty cold. So heating still has to come on in the car. Luckily I've got heated seats, so that helps. And if you set off early for your meetings in the morning, it's probably now starting to get light around about 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30. So it's really a good, the springtime in the UK is very good because you don't get that dull feeling of driving to work in the morning, it's still dark, getting home and it's dark, it feels like you've missed the whole day. Whereas now we start seeing some of the early rising sun now. Early morning starts with the light. Still a bit frosty, still a bit cold, but it's a lot better. It gets a bit depressing when you in between November and January, especially when it's dark for longer periods. And as a travelling salesman or saleswoman, it just makes you feel a bit down. You spend a lot of time in the car when you're driving on the road, obviously, and I'm probably doing about 25,000 miles per annum, which is a decent amount of mileage. My car is hybrid, so I do balance that off with my electric use and the petrol. So I do my bit for the environment. Just to go over again a few things about my next meeting. So I'm meeting with a CIO, Chief Information Officer. I'm meeting with a project manager, a procurement director, and a technical lead. So quite a senior level mix of people. And with the solution my company provide, you do find that it does spread across different departments. Even though I work within manufacturing, you do get many different stakeholders from departments being involved in a discovery phase. After the discovery, sometimes you get people drop out, so some people may think, well, okay, I don't need to be involved, or you might get people added to the group, which are again, it just adds because they have a vested interest in the solution. I go by myself, so sometimes I might take one of my support team with me. If it's a current customer and we're going through an account review, I may take a support lead with me, or my line manager, because sometimes when you go through review meetings, you end up you might have to rejig the strategy or expectations, or look at pricing structures. Of course, any issues which may have happened in the account, to iron these out. I don't mind account reviews, but as a salesperson, it's in my blood. I do like going on to new business opportunities. I do like that, more of a development role, because it's trying to sell. It's selling our product and selling all the things that you can do for them and help them with, and I get excited about selling a proposition, my value proposition to them. Well, reviews are very important. Sometimes people like to do reviews every month, every week, every quarter. The way I manage my reviews is dependent on the size of the customer and the size of the solution we have in place. With a small company, you might have one solution from you. I might only ever see them maybe every 6 months or every year, depending on what their requirements are, etc. An account which has higher revenue spend or has more solutions from us, I will possibly have monthly meetings with them. And again, it all depends on your account base, because if you've got a load of key accounts and you just manage the key accounts, of course you might not have enough to see him every month, or to speak every month. They may not need you to speak to him every month or review every month. But in my previous role, I had a lot of accounts, so I had to organise them in a certain way, otherwise I would never get to see some of them. Don't get me wrong, the evolution of Teams and Skype or whatever helps a lot of that, because you can do a load of meetings in one day, via remote, whereas in the past a phone call review would do, I guess. But I do like to have that visual communication with the customer, so a phone call is not really that personal. But Teams is great. It's a great tool. I had a customer last week get back in contact with me after probably 8 months. Previously we'd done a discovery call, a meeting, etc. I've been in this role for approximately a year, 12 months, and in my previous role it was a lot quicker of a sales process than it is now with this current role. So when this customer came back to me last week after a long time, I was surprised, but I'm getting used to understanding now in this industry that I'm in now, this new industry. A lot of the times the sales process can be very long. Do I prefer it? Probably no. I like to do, from the point of having the opportunity to discovery to conversion, I'd like to have it a lot quicker. Within a month is good, a month and a half is good. Current customers would be a lot quicker, because they understand your solution, they understand how it works. So when you get from a distributor, when you get a new lead or a new opportunity or a quote, it's normally converted within a week or two, because they're self-sufficient. They can do a lot of the groundwork with their end user quicker than I can. Just go past some military vehicles. They might be doing an exercise today. But on this stretch of the dual carriageway, the road, this is quite a heavily military area. So you do pass a lot of military vehicles on exercise quite often. I like looking at the military vehicles. onto the M5, which is a main motorway or freeway of the UK, or a main motorway or freeway of the UK. It goes from, I believe, down towards Cornwall, all the way up towards Manchester way, I believe, maybe further. It's not a great road for traffic, it's always very busy. You've got some major cities on this motorway, and at least now it's a proper motorway. It's got 3 lanes to allow a lot of volume of traffic through it. I know in the US they have like 5 or 6 lanes. Our infrastructure is not as large as the US, so we still got the traditional 3 lanes of motorway. You have Birmingham is on this this motorway has Birmingham, which is the second city of the UK, and they get a lot of volume of traffic. If your car now, Birmingham has got this relatively new scheme where if your car is over 7 years old, I believe, you'll get charged a fee to go into the city. I guess it's because of the emissions of the car. So yeah, obviously there's a lot of lorries which are older than 7 years old going into the city, so they have to pay a fee. I think it's like £6, £7, or maybe £8. My car is obviously a new car, so I don't get to get hit with that another tax going into a city. If I didn't tell you last time on the first video, my choice of music while I drive is classical music. I find it helps me just concentrate and think and go over a few things in my mind. It relaxes me. I just find when you listen to a radio, it's normally a lot of current pop music, which is not my era. So I just listen to classic music, which is, again, just totally relaxes me and it gives me focus. Some people don't listen to the radio at all, but I sometimes just listen to podcasts through the phone. Joe Rogan podcast is a good one. But most of the time I do listen to classic music. It's actually a very nice day in the Midlands, it looks like today. Some low clouds, but really bright sun, not too windy. Temperature's gone up to 9 degrees now, and it's still morning, so that's good. You'll soon start seeing all the trees getting green leaves again and bright colours. It's a fantastic time of the year, spring is, because it's like when everything becomes revitalised or renewed. Pity the roads weren't the same, and the traffic. So just obviously, again, when you go to meetings, to customer meetings or wherever, I think it's always best in the UK is to probably give yourself half an hour extra time to travel, at least. Because I guarantee you're going to be stuck in some form of traffic or problem, especially if you're like myself. I live in the Midlands, so there's a lot of congestion here, a lot of roadworks, a lot of motorway maintenance lorries out. So I just give myself, I at least give myself half an hour gap. And you know, as a sales guy or a salesperson, it's always better to be earlier than late, because you want them to buy off you, and if you can show that you're punctual, I think it does go a long way. I try to get my appointments early, so then when I get back, I've got the time then after to do my administration, or to do my quotations, or to do whatever admin I have to do for the deal. So straight away, as I mentioned, we're coming up to roadworks again. It's going to be restricted speed, because they're doing some sort of road maintenance. To be fair, most of the time you don't see anybody doing any work, which is very frustrating. I do know they do it overnight. Sometimes they close the motorway down, but in some other countries, I think like China, they continually work on it until the road or the fix is done, because they don't want people stuck in traffic. It's just being more efficient. Whereas in the UK, for some strange reason, everything to do with motorways or roadworks or infrastructure takes longer than every other place in the world. This M5 has constantly got roadworks on it, somewhere down the line. So we're coming up to a place called Worcester. Those people in the UK don't know that. Obviously, everybody in the UK will know where Worcester is. But Worcester's quite a nice, I believe it's a city. It's quite a nice area. It's not too built up. It's still got a lot of countryside around it. Malvern is an area not far from Worcester, which is a real affluent area, and yeah, I've got a few customers in Worcester. But we're not stopping there today, so we can just bypass this on the route. I mentioned on the first video these yellow speed limiter, or whatever they're called, monitors, cameras on the side of the motorway. There's a couple coming up now on my left, and they're there to monitor your average speed from the point of the maintenance to the end of it. This is 50 miles per hour, but there's a theory in the UK that if you change lanes, you don't get picked up, because the cameras are dedicated to a lane. So if you're going over 50 miles per hour in the one lane, and you continually go over 50 miles an hour in the lane, then you will be monitored. Whereas if you cross lanes, the camera doesn't pick you up. That's what they say. I mean, I'm not sure if that's true, but I did find that a bus driver told me that they change lanes constantly so they can't be picked up. I'm not going to try that, because I am driving a company car and I can't be bothered dealing with the admin of having a fine if it doesn't work. So to my belief, there actually are workers again today on the motorway. Well, there's a couple there doing some works. Also as well, just to I think in the first video I mentioned about, I I take calls and stuff in the car, driving, hands-free of course, legal, etc. But to be honest, I try not to do many calls whilst I'm driving, because when I'm in the car driving to a meeting, it's my time to think and to get my plan of action, rehearsed in my mind. So I like to have a clear mind before I go into a meeting. Whereas I think if you're driving and you're talking about other things with the customers, you get sidetracked then, and you may come a bit off your game in terms of knowing what to say when you get there, and etc. I still do have calls, but I try to restrict them. In fact, if I see a call coming through and it's not from a customer, it's from somebody internally, and it potentially won't be urgent, I don't pick it up. I just cancel the call, and I call them when my meeting's finished. I do have out of office on my Teams and my emails whenever I go to customer meetings, so my other customers can see that I'm actually currently visiting other customers. I think that's a good practice to do. Some people don't do that, but I think it's a real good practice, especially if you're a field salesperson. Customers chasing you. If you're on the road, you can't physically reply to them, then you should notify them via out of office on your email. Customer who I'm seeing today is actually a customer who's already had engagement with a couple of competitors of mine. So, with me already knowing that, the natural thing for most salespeople to go into is probably overpromise and be focused on price straight away. As soon as a lot of salespeople hear there's competitors involved, they think the worst, and they think that the only way they can get anywhere with this customer is to have the cheapest price. I totally don't agree with that. I think if you're a good salesperson, you sell the total value proposition. You don't just sell the solution or the product and that is it. What is the value of yourself managing their account? What is the value of a support structure mechanism? What's the value of 360 process from sales? So for me, I know my competitors' strengths and weaknesses. I know my strengths and weaknesses, or my company's strengths and weaknesses. So you just go in there and focus on your strengths as another company to provide a solution, and you sell yourself. Ultimately, they want to know the person they're dealing with is a person they can rely on to make sure everything runs smoothly, etc., etc. So when you are up against competition, to have that differentiation, a lot of the times it comes down to you as a salesperson. Competitors' products will be similar to what you do. If the customer's already done their homework, they will know that your solution is the same, similar to someone else's solution. You are the added value. You are the what make a difference. So today, I have to prove to them that yes, our solution is a first-class solution, but again, not all customers are price-driven. You've already established they got their budget by now anyway, so in effect, you should have an idea of what a solution may look like to them. So you have to upsell you as their go-to person, their salesperson, as a value added. I don't get scared when I hear about competition, because if everything was so easy and everything was on a plate, then I think as a salesperson I would probably lose my passion for sales, because it'd be too easy. You have to have a challenge. Some salespeople are hunters, some salespeople are farmers. You know, I think a good salesperson is a mixture of all of it, not a one-trick pony. You can either be an order taker, just churning the same business day in, day out, not much growth, just the same level of business. You're just churning the same stuff. For me, that is not a salesperson, and that's just my take on things. It'd be interesting to hear of other travelling salespeople, to see how they work and what their ideas are, because I think everyone is different. Some salespeople are lazy, I think, and they have the title of sales because their role may fall under sales / technical support or something like that. But I think salespeople, no matter where you work, a real salesperson can adapt, I think, very quickly after they understand the product and the pricing and the solution. A good salesperson can easily use their transferable skills in any sales role, not product specific. Which is in the south of Birmingham. I lived there at one point. Quite an affluent area. Strategically very good location, because you can get to the south, to the north very quickly from Solihull. You're not in Birmingham, so you're not involved in all the hustle and bustle of the big city. But it's a real nice area to live. Get to London pretty quickly on that route. So we're still on the M5 at this point.
Mendelssohn's Symphony No. 3, his tribute to Scotland. Thomas Dathgard.
So for today's video, just to summarise and conclude, it's going to be a very long meeting today. Well prepared. Going to be in front of the stakeholders, which is a very good indication that they want to. They're serious about this opportunity, and hopefully, with the size of this opportunity, it's probably going to be at least 3 or 4 discovery calls after this meeting, and a visit to my facility for them to come down to. Again, the size of the opportunity would say to me it's probably going to be about 3 to 4 months of a discovery on this before there's any committal from them if we win the business. And I envisage them to get the order delivered before the end of summer, and which could be invoiced before the start of the Q4. So for me, to wrap it up today, I'll have another video lined up for next week. And again, this video from Newport, South Wales to the Midlands, approximately 2.5 hour drive, and I'll catch up with you guys and let you know the outcome of this meeting. Take care, bye bye.